Okay, we are on the Nimitz build again. I already mentioned that the guy I'm building this for wants to use the waterline plate instead of the full hull, the bottom part here, because he's going to have it displayed in water. Now, when we were talking about this, I suggested that maybe I can make it replaceable. Like I could have it to where the lower hull just kind of clips on with magnets. So then if he wanted to display the whole thing out of water, he could. Then he could just take the bottom part off and then set the whole thing into water. And it seemed like he thought that was a good idea. Like he kind of liked that. But I think he was concerned about extra work for me. Because he said that if I were to do that, he would probably have it displayed in water most of the time anyways. And while he did say that it would be kind of cool to have that option, he probably wouldn't use it that much. And if it was too much work, then just do it with water. And I said, okay, so that was the plan. I kind of left it at that. But I still can't quite get that idea out of my head to be able to display in either water or out of the water. And so I kept going back to my idea of making the lower part kind of clip on with magnets. So I decided to go ahead and just put this on permanent and then have the lower part kind of clip onto that. Now I know that would make the overall model height that much taller than it should be when it's displayed out of the water, but I honestly don't think that's even going to be noticeable. So to prepare for that, on the lower part, here's the lower part. And what I did, I took some styrene, square styrene stock, and I put a piece along the edge here and along up to here, and then another piece all the way back. And it's spaced off of that edge, the thickness of the styrene I want to use to make a base. Now I kind of had to stop here because right around here it starts to curve more, and so my plastic piece was curving too much, but I did put a piece back here to stop the bottom from flopping down. And the styrene I'm using is this, and I made it in two pieces, just kind of bonded it there in the middle. I didn't have a piece long enough to make it in one piece. And again, back here where I couldn't put the side rails because it would be angled weird, I put a couple of square pieces here just to stiffen that up. So this sets in here just like that. And that sets flush with that edge. I don't know how well you can see that, but it sets flush with that edge. And that will get glued in, bonded on. And so then what I'll do is I'll use these magnets. I've got 6 of these. I might buy another pack of these, but I'll put them on the inside. I only have 6, so I have 3 here and I'll have 3 in the other part. So I'll probably have maybe 2 back here and 1 here, maybe something like that, or maybe I'll just kind of stagger them like that. That might actually be better. So I'll stagger them like that, and then the matching 3 and this piece, and then I'll just take some round styrene like this, and I'll just put 1 in the front. And it only needs to stick up about as high as that is. Now I marked the bottom of this where the structure is on the bottom of the rest of the model. So this is where I can't put the magnets. I could probably put the hole here for the rod. So basically I'll have a short piece of this bonded into here. I'll drill a hole in it and then drill a matching hole in here. So that'll stick in about that far. And so that way, when he puts the model onto this, it'll slide in and snap in with the magnets right in place. So that's kind of where I am for now, and that's the idea. And he might not even like it, he might not even use it, but it's like once I get an idea for something, I kind of got to do it. So even if he never uses this, it's not going to hurt my feelings. It's just nice that he'll have the option to display it in one of 2 different ways. So that's where I am with this. I got a little bit more work here with the magnets and the rods, and then this will be done, and then I can bond these into the rest of the model. So those got bonded in, and you can see here and here and here where the magnets are. Probably should have used more magnets, but you know, gravity is going to hold the thing on. And I've got these pegs or posts. There's one here and one here, and that'll keep it aligned properly. And I had to do a lot of sanding on the back edge here and here to get it to match up with the rest of the boat. Now the parts that will get glued onto the boat, these parts, a little bit dusty, got one of the magnets here, one of them here. Now what I did was I actually counterbored into the plastic using this. That's bigger diameter than the magnets. So I counterbored into the plastic about half the thickness of the plastic, and then I CA'd the magnet in place, and then put some styrene strips on top of it, bonded on with solvent, so those magnets are not going anywhere. And I counterbored through the plastic to make it thinner so the magnets would have a stronger grab. And so this one, you can see that hole right there. Oh, and that just lines up the structure on the bottom of the boat, so I don't put anything where the structure is. But that hole goes where that peg is, and those magnets line it up right there. And so there's what that side profile looks like. Like I said, right up here, the edges are pretty much straight, so they lined up pretty well. But once they start to curve around, I ended up with an edge. I had to sand that back on both sides. And then, of course, this one goes just like that. And so what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and glue these pieces to the bottom of the rest of the boat. And then these will be ready to go. And I want to get the island done. And before I can put all of the levels on, I want to get the windows in. Now, the kit does not include windows. And from as best as I can tell from references I've looked at, the windows kind of have a slight green tint. And from other photos I've looked at, it kind of looks like it depends on the angle and the sunlight. And, you know, sometimes they look clear, sometimes they look green tinted. But the first one I want to do, though, and I don't think these are green, this little section here that goes there, for those windows, I decided to try this canopy glue. There's another product, I think it's called Crystal Clear or something like that. But I've already done a couple. I did that one and that one, and I want to show you here how to do that. Now, before I put the windows in, I painted this with the light gray, just using the color codes in the kit. I did it with a light gray. That's actually this one right here. You could probably just use like a toothpick or something. I got a pack of these like rubber brushes. I don't know, I always thought they were kind of dumb, but I went ahead and picked up a set of them, and they're pretty good. I mean, since the rubber glue doesn't stick to them, so you can use them to apply glue or whatever. But anyway, so you just got a little bit on that tip there. And then you just go into the window opening. And that was way too much. Let me see if I can clean some of that off. I just wiped some of the glue off at the end of that. And as you can see, that just sticks in that opening, and that will dry clear like those other windows. So that's what I'm doing for this section. And of course, once that's dry, it'll be clear and I can attach it to the rest of it. For the other windows, I thought about doing the same thing. And then, you know, just applying that to all those openings and then airbrushing some clear green on the inside. But I thought I would try to just take some clear plastic, and I just airbrushed a really thin layer of this clear green on it, like really thin. And this is what I ended up with. And I think that looks pretty good. So I just cut out some strips, and you can see here, I just glued a strip to that on the back side. I used the same clear canopy glue to glue it in there. And so now I have some windows glued there to the inside. You can't really tell the green tinting very well. It all depends on the angle that you're looking at. But like I said, sometimes it's not even really noticeable. I would rather the green tint be less noticeable than more noticeable, if that makes any sense. So I still have to do all of those, and of course the other levels there. So I got a few more windows to put in. Once those are put in, then I can assemble all of these pieces. Now, before I put those in, I went ahead and airbrushed that gray all around here. So that way, after I put it all together, I can just put masking along here and then airbrush the whole assembly. And that way the windows will be masked off and I won't paint the windows. So yeah, I just got to put some more windows in and then assemble it and paint it. And I'll come back and show you what that looks like when that's done. Okay, so I've got the bottom plate glued on. I'll show you a better view of that later. This is how it's setting on the hole now. It's not perfect. There's a little bit of a gap in the middle. It doesn't set down as well as I was hoping. But remember, like I said, he's probably not even going to use that. I'm going to continue doing it even though it doesn't quite fit perfect. I think I can get it better with a little bit of tweaking. But if it's not absolutely perfect, I'm not going to worry about it too much because it's probably not going to be displayed like that. So let me get rid of this and then I'll show you this part here. So give me a second and I'll be right back with you. Okay, so actually here's just the two pieces separated. And you can see one of the magnets here, a little location peg. There's another magnet here, another one here, and a location peg here. I should have done more magnets. That, I don't know, it's kind of dumb to only do 3. I mean, they are strong enough it'll lift this whole thing up, just with those 3. But anyways, I've got this kind of decked off flat. I can feel a little bit of a hump in here. So maybe if I sand that flatter, maybe that's what's holding it up in the middle. Maybe, I don't know. I had to do a lot of sanding around this back edge, around here with some filler, just to get it to match the profile of the bottom of the boat. And if we flip this over, so again, one of the magnets here, there's a hole for the location peg, another magnet here, here, and here. Also, this is all glued and bonded on. This is setting a little bit proud. That also might be keeping it from setting flat. So I'm going to grind this part down here flush with this part. You can see where it's not sanded, where that's setting up a little bit proud. So like I said, I'm going to grind this back a little flatter. Maybe that'll help. I was not happy with the way this piece here made it up with the rest of the boat. There is some pretty good gappage along here and just a little bit along here, not much. So I went over the entire seam with some of that filler. And also right back here, there's a pretty good gap right along here. So I went over that with the filler, and then of course same on the other side here. This is sanded down to, I think, 800 grit, 800 or 400, I don't remember. I need to do more sanding. This is just kind of the first pass to clean it up and smooth it up to see what it looks like. It's not bad. I think it looks fine. It'll sit in the water perfectly fine. And like I said, that's how he's going to be displaying it. So this needs a lot more sanding and smoothing along here before I can paint it. But as soon as I get done sanding that, I'm going to put a coat of the gray paint on it. This part, the thickness of the red will be black, and then the lower hole will be the whole brown, or whole red. It's actually like a cocoa brown, but I think it's called whole red. So anyways, painting will be done later. Just kind of flip this back over here. So that's that. So let me put this away, and then I'll show you the island and some of the other parts I was working on. All right, so there's the almost completed island. I still need to paint the doors And I need to add some wash and some highlights. There's also some smaller parts that go on here. There's a few little pieces. I don't know if they're antennas or what they are, but the few little pieces go on there. I'll put those on later. They're kind of small, and I don't want to risk breaking them right now. I did get the windows in. I showed one of those earlier before I glued all these together. And they are just very slightly tinted green. And it's hard to tell unless you get the light on them just right, which is what I was wanting. Because again, in the reference photos, some of them, you know, depending on the light and the angle, sometimes they looked clear, and other times they really looked tinted green. So I didn't want them to look obviously green unless you get the light on it just right. And it's probably not even picking up in the camera. But I'm very happy with the way all the windows came out. Right now, this just has a coat of light gray. Like I said, it needs some highlights and some washes and some other details painted, which I will do later. But for now, this is done enough right now. Of course, there's the mast that goes on top. Here is the mast, just has, again, a coat of light gray. I'll do a little bit of washing, not much, because when you look at reference photos, it's pretty plain and clean. But I'll do a little bit of washing to pick out some details. Also, some of these, like the little round ones there, again, I got to look at reference photos again, but if I remember right, some of those round ones are more of a white color. So I need to do some just hand painting on this with some reference photos. Of course, that gets attached to the top right there. I don't want to do that yet because I don't want it to break off yet. I mean, I don't want it to break off at all. So I'll put this on like later. This and all the other little antennas will probably be the last thing that gets attached to the model when it's done. And there's also this piece here. Again, same as the other one. Just has a coat of the light gray. I need to go over with some detail painting and washing later. Okay, let's take a look at the deck. So I went ahead and glued all three pieces of the deck together because the next thing I want to do is go ahead and attach this to the top of the boat. And as you can tell, I masked off around some of these edges here. So I just kind of masked off here. That's not painted yet. That'll get the light gray color. And I don't know how well the lighting is picking it up, but there is a lot of, no, not a lot, but this coating of this dark gray isn't like perfectly even. I don't want to say it's splotchy, but there are some areas that look thinner and lighter than the others. But this is not the final coat. When you look at reference photos, there's a lot of unevenness on the deck. There's a lot of light areas, a lot of dark areas. Really kind of looks splotchy on the real thing. And I don't know why I'm taking all this tape off, because I'm going to have to redo it later. But anyways, I don't know. It's too late now. The main reason I wanted to get the, just like the first coat of paint on this is because right back here, from here to here and here and here, there's three cables that go across there. And those have to get secured on the bottom side. And I wanted to paint this before I put the cables on. And I'll show you what I'm going to use for the cables here in a moment. But the three pieces of this deck, there's one piece here, a center piece, and then a front piece. And there was some pretty good gappage, or I guess I could say bad gappage, more than I was hoping for. If we flip this over, you can see where one of the seams is. Now I added some styrene here just to help support that. Another piece here and another piece in here, because this was really only glued on by these little overlapping tabs here. And so I just did that to help support it. And I did the same thing right back here. And again, those cables are coming through the holes here and it'll get secured on the backside there. So I wanted to put those on before I put this on the rest of the model. And I also, right here, I also masked off here where the island goes so that I can still use solvent to secure the island in place. And right here, there's another mast thing that goes right there. And also there are 4 blast shields and I masked off where the blast shields are going to go. I'm going to have one of them up and the other 3 down. And I still need to figure out which one I'm going to have up. So I went ahead and just masked off all 4 of them like that. There's another one here and 2 more here and here. I'll pull that tape off later. So anyways, I got to figure out which one of those I want to have up. The other 3 will be down. And again, this is not a finished painted surface. After this is attached to the rest of the boat and before I glue on the island and these other pieces, I'm going to look at some reference photos, and I'm going to try to weather the deck to look like reference photos with light areas, darker areas. That'll be a different video. I'm not going to do that now. Now, something else I was thinking about and considering was the nets along the edge here, which they're going to go pretty much all the way around the deck. You can see some more here. I was trying to think of some ways to replicate that instead of using this. I know there's photo etched parts. I also found some screen material that I was going to use to make that netting stuff with. I just don't like any of those options. I can think of about a dozen ways that I could screw it up. So I think for now, I'm just going to leave this as is. If I can think of a better way, I don't know. For now, I'm just going to leave those as is. One concern I have is that if I do something different here, this is so small. If it got bumped or grabbed or whatever, they would just break off. The kit parts, I think, are good enough. I think they're okay. It would be nice if they looked more realistic, like netting material. But like I said, everything I can come up with to redo those, I can just think of a bunch of ways that it could go wrong. If it wasn't perfect all the way around, it would look worse than this. And even if, like I said, even if I did do like photo etch, and I did see some examples of some photo etch. One example I saw, honestly, did not look any different than the molded in plastic. It almost seemed pointless. Another one I saw looked a lot better. It looked nice, but I keep going back to that thing of if they get bumped or knocked, they're going to break off, and they would be really easy to break off. Keep in mind, I have to get this thing delivered like 800 miles to my friend's house, and I'm trying to eliminate things that could be broken off. And since that detail pretty much goes all the way around the whole thing, those would be really easy to be broken off. So for now, unless I come up with a better idea for now, I'm going to leave those alone. I'll just paint them the light gray and do some washing, do like a dark gray wash inside of the netting area. But let me get this mounted to the rest of the boat. I'm not going to glue it, just kind of set it on there just so we can see what it looks like. I'll put the island on and some other things just so we can get an overall view. And at that point, I think this video is going to be way too long. And I really need to think about my next step. This is a big enough project with a lot of steps. Some things need to be painted first. Some things need to be assembled first. So I got to really think about like the best next step. So let me just put this on so we can get a view of what it looks like. And then we'll wrap it up. Okay, so here's what it's looking like so far. Again, that is not glued onto that. I just had to tape the nose down because it wanted to pick up a little bit. The island is not glued on. It's just setting in place. Obviously, the mast isn't on. That's not glued on. But just to give you an idea of how it's going so far. And honestly, I think so far so good. Still a lot of work, a lot of painting, a lot of tiny parts. But in the next video, this one's already way too long. Now, the cables... Again, there's 3 cables that go along here. The kit comes with some thread. I actually have steel braided cable. That's the right diameter. So I'm going to be using this instead of the thread. I think that would look a lot better. So yeah, that goes there. But anyways, that'll be the next video. For now, I'm going to leave it right there. And As always, until next time, thanks for watching.